Hey everybody, this is Mike from MDXpods. I just want to let you guys know kind of what's going on this month. We're going to be doing 4 episodes for Halloween, starting off with this one, Dawn of the Dead. Now, we started recording these a couple months back, just before Double D joined the podcast, and just before we kind of switched to a more casual format. So this is going to be one of the old styles where we, set the criteria and go into really great detail on the plot. So thank you guys for listening, and, thank you for kind of taking this gem from the past, and it's still really, really funny. There's some really great parts in this, so I think you guys will definitely enjoy it. And also, fun final, bookkeeping kind of thing. I need to give a big shout out to Miss Angela Lopez, our newest patron on Patreon. She's actually contributing $5 a month, and she's going to be getting some of Dustin's artwork, which is pretty cool. We're really excited about, getting these new rewards out there, and we really want to thank Angela for being the first person to accept that. And it's great. Awesome job. Thank you so much, Angela. And thank you for supporting the podcast, and thank you for listening. And for everybody else, if you want to help us out, patreon.com/MDXpods is the place to do it. That's it. Thank you guys for listening, and enjoy this Halloween episode, Dawn of the Dead. Once again, Double D will not be in this episode, but he will be in the next 3 Halloween specials. We'll also have a guest spot from Katrina in one of them as well. So we really look forward to the month of October. It's going to be pretty good. Bye. All right. Thank you guys for listening to MDXpods, the podcast where we watch movies that have been remade and rebooted and decide if that remake or reboot should have happened. Dustin, what movies did we watch this week? First off, how are you, Dustin? I'm sorry. That was very rude of me.
Yeah.
How are you today,
Dustin?
Dustin?
Quite rude. Actually, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm doing great. I really liked watching these movies. They've got a personal I've got a personal story to tell you about the original Dawn of the Dead in a minute, but why don't you... Well, I guess I just ruined it and told you I was going to have you introduce the topic.
No big deal. So we watched Dawn of the Dead, the 1978 version, as well as the remake of Dawn of the Dead, which 2004?
2004, directed by Zack Snyder.
Year. 2004 Dawn of the Dead. Honestly, I enjoyed both of them. So
did I. I really liked them.
For very different reasons.
Yeah, me too. They're drastically different movies, with a similar premise. There are some drastic differences in these movies, drastic differences in characters and the way everything works. But I'm going to tell you something that I don't tell a lot of people, and I guess I'm going to be telling a lot of people because we're recording this.
The listeners. All the folks at home. You guys get ready.
The 1978 Dawn of the Dead has a weird history with me. So when I was in, I think it was 2nd grade, it might have been 3rd grade, it might have even been like between 2nd and 3rd grade. All I know is my mom and my younger siblings were going out of town to go visit family, but I couldn't go because school was about to start. So I think I was about to start 3rd grade. It was like the end of the summer.
Okay.
So my dad's like, we're going to have like a boys' night, and my dad rented American Werewolf in London.
Scare the hell out of you.
Yep. He rented American Werewolf in London and this movie, Dawn of the Dead.
Jesus.
Now, so I was in like 2nd and 3rd grade, so I was 7, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 7. I turned 8 in 3rd grade, so I would have been. I'm an October baby, so like beginning of the year, I would have turned 8. So I was like 7. So we watched Dawn of the Dead. We watched the American Werewolf in London one first, and it was creepy and whatever. But this one, we watched it. It takes place in a mall. It seems like so much more believable because you go to the mall.
Yeah, it's like, just so accessible.
Right? So at one point, my dad told me that the reason this movie looked all grainy and old was because this was actually a documentary and it actually happened. And that zombies were real, and that this movie actually took place.
So he hated and hates you. I don't understand.
I guess so. Well, they do hate me now. I have been disowned.
Oh, okay.
But that is a different story. But it scared the shit out of me. Like, scared the holy living shit out of me. So I became obsessed with zombies. Like, I remember in 3rd grade, we had to, like, write short stories and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, all my stories were about zombies and stuff because they were fucking on my brain every night.
They're trying to eat it. They're trying to eat your fucking brain every night.
Every night. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Every night, I would get all the extra pillows and all my, like stuffed animals that my brother had.
Yeah.
And I would build a barricade on my bed around myself.
Well, it is a little known fact that zombies cannot get past pillows and stuffed animals.
So my rationale was in the 1978 Dawn of the Dead, there is a scene where a bunch of zombies like push through a wall that's like a plywood.
Yeah, the plywood wall, the fake wall. Yeah.
Well, not even that one. At the beginning of the movie, that raid with all the Puerto Ricans, there's a wall that they like break through.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know they can get through the wall if they know I'm there. So my rationale was if they can't, because the zombies
they
are
would
pretty
never
stupid,
know you were there.
If they didn't know I was there, if I had this big wall around me. It's also kind of fucked up because I had a bunk bed.
Yeah.
And so my brother, like, if a zombie did come, they would have like totally saw my brother.
Because he's on the bottom.
Totally,
were you on the top?
Yeah, he was on the bottom.
Oh, the top's where you want to be. The top,
yeah,
clearly.
So I had this barricade,
safer.
and like I was totally willing to sacrifice my brother.
Well,
to
fuck
live.
him. I mean,
so
this is
for
a zombie
years
situation,
and
dude.
years, I was creeped out by zombies because I thought they were real. I mean,
well,
pretty
where
quickly
were you
I
gonna
learned that they
go
weren't.
from the top bunk, though? What was your plan?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because I
Wait
too was a top bunk child. I was on the top bunk, and if they were all over my brother, I still don't know how I would have got out of there.
I would have had to wait it out and let them get bored and leave,
and just be real quiet and let them fucking
be real
feast on my
quiet.
brother.
So,
damn,
course,
that's cold-blooded.
It is cold-blooded. It's kind of fucked up. I'm a terrible person. So eventually I figured out the zombies weren't real, and but I was terrified of them for a long time. Like I don't remember.
Until what age did you realize they were not an actual
pretty
threat?
Quickly. I'd say still within a year or so.
Oh, okay.
And
like
within
like
third
a couple
grade
years ago, I figured out zombies weren't real.
When I actually watched this movie, the 2004, and watched the behind the scene features and realized that it was just makeup. But no, I even as like a high school student, like I remember the first time playing like a Resident Evil game, I was super creeped out, and I've never been creeped out by anything. Like I don't get creeped out by like Exorcist movies, werewolf movies, vampire movies, like any other scary movie. It doesn't creep me out.
I mean, there's
zombie
fun
movies
in
are the
that
only
like
ones that
survival
do.
horror kind of game, right? Like, what would you do in this situation?
Yeah.
You know, like,
but I legit get anxiety sometimes playing zombie games still because I think of this trauma from being 7 years old and being told that zombies are real.
Yeah, dude. But maybe it also made you one of the survivors. You know.
Yep.
Fuck, man. When the shit hits, you might know what to do.
Oh, I know exactly what to do. I've got that Max Brooks book, the zombie handbook, like how to survive.
I'm just saying, man. I think that the zombie survival is going to come down to people who have actually put thought into it, and then the victims are going to be the people who have not.
Exactly. So let's get into these movies. I think we should set some criteria. I, for one, would obviously... I think themes of the zombie movie would be one to talk about, because George Romero definitely had a themes on the mind when he made his zombie movies, and at least until like the 2000s when like they just became like a cash grab.
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about like the survivors, like the main crew. And I think that obviously the zombies.
I think we have two really different zombies, right? We got slow ones and fast ones.
And the run zombies.
Yeah, run zombies are the worst, man.
Oh,
the run zombies are the ones that are going to get you every goddamn time.
I don't think I could survive the running zombie apocalypse.
I don't know. I couldn't. I don't have the guns or the bullets to survive it.
No, I don't have any of those things. So I'm going to summarize the first one, the 1978 one. This was made by George Romero, who's considered like the father of zombies. Like he did Night of the Living Dead and Black and White.
Yeah.
He did this one. That was like 10 years prior to this one. There's a 10-year gap between his original one and the sequel.
Was it that long?
It was 10 years.
That's nuts.
And then it was like another 6 years before he did the third movie, Day of the Dead. Mm-hmm. He also made, I think in the 90s, there was a remake of Night of the Living Dead, or Night of the Dead. And he did the remake too in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
And then he didn't do anything until I think in 2005, a year after the remake of the one we're talking about came out. He did a Land of the Dead, which was awful.
Romero was just all zombies.
He did some other things. He did a movie called Monkey Shine.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
that they covered on How Did This Get Made.
I actually have never seen that movie, but I remember as a child at the video store seeing the cover to that movie. And not
with this monkey with the symbols and stuff.
Yeah. Oh no!
He also did the Crazies, which has been remade. We may end up doing that movie in the future. Yeah, he did the original Crazies. That he did that between his first zombie movie and this one.
Wow!
So, but he's considered the grandfather, the daddy of zombie movies.
Deal with any fucking Crazies, dude. Not at all.
The Crazies, the new Crazies is a great movie. I actually do want to cover the Crazies on this podcast eventually.
We can. Is Timothy Olyphant in that movie?
Timothy Olyphant, yep, he's in that one.
Dang.
So in a nutshell, this movie, there's a lot of weird. This movie jumps around back and forth a lot until it really gets into the action. But the movie starts off in this like new studio, and it turns out like the woman, I can't remember what her name is. I have all the name of the characters here somewhere. Francine, she's like, there's a middle of a broadcast and she's like yelling at them to like take down the ticker that's telling people where to go that's safe, because it turns out like all these places have already fallen. She gets like an argument with like her producer, and the producer's like, this is the only reason they're watching, and she's like, nah, brah. Her boyfriend Steven, who is the biggest piece of shit in terms of like being a survivor.
He's a helicopter pilot.
Yeah, he's a helicopter pilot, and he's like, we're leaving.
All he has to offer to any kind of
so
survival.
He's like, we're leaving. And she's like, no, we can't go. We got to do the news. And some guy's like, nah, it's fine. You should go, because like the federal government's going to take over all broadcasts. So go. Steal the helicopter. Don't invite me. Go. So
yeah.
Then it flips over to a character named Roger, who's like a SWAT guy. And they're going up to this like penthouse apartment kind of thing, and it turns out like the government put up all these like Puerto Ricans and like black people into one thing, and like there's this one crazy cop who's like, this is bullshit.
Super racist part of this
puts
movie.
all these like uses all these racial slurs, and like they are living better than I ever did. Why are they here? But they're supposed to go in there because it turns out they're like keeping some zombies
in the basement.
So they go in here and like
in
the basement. So they go in there and raid it. And at one point, like the racist cop starts going crazy, and it's just like shooting up everybody. So there's this guy named Peter, it's kind of ambiguous as to whether or not he is a cop or not, or if he's just like put on a cop outfit and like took to like get out of that building.
He seemed to have a rapport with Roger.
He did. Well, so I think it was that survive. They recognize that they're both survived because he walks into the room.
Did they just recognize that they both are good at guns?
Yeah. So he's like, he goes, "You're part of so and so's group," and he's like, "I didn't see anything," and everything, because he knows that guy killed him. And so they end up working together to get through, and they go through this like get to the basement where these zombies are, and there's this like one-legged like preacher guy, and he's like walks out of this room with all these zombies. He's like, "Do what you got to do. They're dead. I gave them the last rites. Go ahead and kill them." And he's like super creepy.
Yeah.
And was weird. This was in this scene just prior. There's the first time you see zombies is they go into this one room right after they kill the racist guy. And there's like 3 zombies in there, and they're moving super slow. And the guy, for whatever reason, picks up these like shotguns that like the Puerto Ricans had that don't fire. And like these are the slowest moving zombies. And he's just like click, click, click. Yeah. And then so somebody else goes in there to help him, and then gets tripped by another zombie. Once again, the slowest moving zombie. And then like a third zombie just walks out into the hallway, sees his like girlfriend, and she's like, "Baby," and like he just bites her, and it's like,
yeah.
So it was kind of hokey and dumb, but
these zombies are also like a weird like blue.
So the makeup was supposed to be gray.
Oh, okay.
But I've got a lot of trivia on this movie because it's one of my favorite movies. I've watched this so many times. I guess I'm into like torturing myself a little bit because this movie still creeps me out. So
you're trying to work through it.
I guess so. So they end up Roger, who's the white guy, the white cop, tells Peter that he's got a friend with a helicopter. He can come because he seems like a cool dude, and like they're gonna be pals. And so they go and meet Steven and Francine, and they go and they have no real plan. They're just like, we're gonna get a helicopter and go fly somewhere. And they bond with each other. So the first time these 4 people bond is there's like this like nerdy looking dude, and he's like, "Hey, do you guys have a cigarette?" And they're like, "Nah, we don't have any." And they tell him to kick rocks, and then they all pull out cigarettes and start smoking as soon as he leaves. And they're all just kind of like,
idiot.
So they go and fly, and they're like running out of fuel. Like they have 0 plans. They're just like, we're gonna get a helicopter and go somewhere.
They run out of fuel, but they got plenty of cigarettes.
Yeah. So they go to this like little like airstrip, and right away you recognize in this movie that the only way you can die in this movie by zombies is if you're reckless and you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Because like the one guy is like pumping the gas, and like he's just looking at the helicopter. He's not looking away. Like there's no reason to hold the pump. So he got really lucky that this zombie had an like abnormally large forehead and decided to climb on some crates and then walk to the helicopter, gets his head cut off. And then Peter, the black cop, goes into get some coffee, and like he opens up a closet where he can hear people roaring. He like shoots into the closet and nothing happens, but then he opens the door and like 2 kid zombies came out, and he like throws them around. And then Steven and Francine go somewhere else, and they just stumble upon a zombie and struggle. Like, and then there's a first conflict between the group where Steven finds a gun, and he goes to shoot at the kid zombies, and Peter's just like, "What are you doing?"
He's shooting right at him.
He's shooting right at him, so they get in this big fight, but then eventually they find the mall. And this is where the bulk of the movie takes place, is in the mall.
This is a
they
mall
go in
movie.
And yeah, it's a mall movie. It's kind of like Mallrats.
Basically the same as Mallrats.
So they land on the roof, then they look down, and they just see like this empty office with a ton of food in it. So they go in there, and then they go and scope out the mall, and they realize, like, why don't we just fucking live here? And
yeah, it
they
takes
go
them a
through
little while to get to that point, too.
It takes a while. Like, so I think they're there actually for like a week or so before they decide to actually really go scope out the mall and like look at what it has to offer. So they decide to do that.
It has to offer everything, by the way. Yeah. It has to offer guns, bullets, food,
clothing, electrician,
electricity, like everything works.
Like everything. And they mention that it's on nuclear, and that's why they still have power.
Yeah, like
it's amazing.
No-brainer
like
to take
and there's nobody there, and there's not that many zombies in there.
No.
So they decide to go through and try to make it work. And so the first time they go through, Peter and Roger go through and scope it out, and then Steven, being a jackass as he is, not knowing how to fight, not knowing how to use a gun, he goes in and he starts going downstairs, and he shoots like a bullet in like a pipe room, and it's like ricocheting around, and he almost gets killed. But then he finds Peter and Roger, and then he's about to go up the stairs, and Peter's like, "Don't go up there, then they're gonna know we're there." So then they go through and they find like a secret duct's way to get through to everything. And they tell Francine, and Francine's like upset. She's like, "You guys don't get to make these decisions." And then there's like a really awkward like abortion scene, not an abortion scene, but like they realize she's pregnant, and it's like the 3 guys are just like, "We can abort it."
Scene.
Yeah. So then they go through and they clear out the zombies, and there's some weird stuff happening. Like they come up with a really great plan on what to do, but for some reason Roger fucking loses his mind.
Oh, in the trucks.
Yeah, in the trucks.
He loses his stupid ass mind, man. Like he like forgets his bag of tools in one of the trucks. Like,
and he's being super cocky too.
Yeah,
like he's just like joking around and everything. And he's like, "We got this by the ass."
Dude,
and
like I feel like if you and I had done that, like it would have gone smooth and by the numbers.
Yeah,
we would have closed up the doors. We would have got back. Everybody would have got home safe and sound.
But yeah, he just for no reason loses his mind.
Yeah,
like he just loses. He's like really cool, calm, and collected. Like
the biggest problem I had with this movie is that he lost his mind for no goddamn reason.
Yeah, so like I write down somewhere in my notes, so I'm like, Peter and Roger like seem to do really well in this world.
But you know, dude, you don't fucking know who you're gonna run into in the zombie crisis, right?
Yeah,
you can't decide that everybody's gonna be cool. You might run into a Roger who's gonna fuck it all up.
But these guys all knew him, and he was like. The thing that was with Roger was at the beginning of the movie when they're in that raid, and he's like the cool, calm, collected one. He's telling all the younger guys everything's gonna be all right.
Yeah, but then he like almost got like zombie killed or whatever, and then he lost his shit.
Well, see, that's later. He almost gets zombie killed because he did this. So like when they go through, and the first time they go through the mall and they get a few supplies, and then they decide to stay. Like they're by the book, SEAL Team 6, like perfectly executing. Maneuvers and getting around the zombies.
Trucks, though, he thinks he's all fucking Billy the Kid, and he's like,
yeah, like doing stupid shit, and then he loses his mind, and then at the end he like drops the bag, and then instead of just getting the bag, he starts like just punching people, and then he gets his leg bit, and ultimately he dies. The movie takes place over a series of months, and then a bunch of gang guys, like biker gang guys, break into the mall. And once again, Steven fucks shit up. Like Roger or Peter is like, "Don't do anything. They're here for the stuff. They don't care about us. They don't. They were super smart. Yeah, they like walled up that area so nobody would know that there's another office, like another hallway. Nobody would have ever known how to find them.
Yeah,
and
which is a great plan. It's a great plan.
It was amazing. Like Peter is an amazing tactician. Amazing friend. At one point, he makes.
I mean, the only real fault he makes is just not taking all of the bullets from the gun store upstairs.
Yeah,
you could have cleaned out the gun store.
Yeah, so he's a great friend. Like he makes that dinner for Francine and Steven, and then he's like, "This is for you guys," and he's just like a great guy.
Oh yeah, when he makes dinner for them.
Yeah, what a great guy.
Like at first when I was watching that scene, I was like racist, and then I was like, oh no, he's just cool.
He's a cool guy.
He's just a nice guy.
Yeah, he did it on his own. It's not like they were forcing him to do it.
At first, my racist alarm went off real bad, and then I was like, "Oh no, he's just cool."
So he also had this thing, like he had one of the let's just talk about Peter for a little bit because we're supposed to be talking about this, right? Peter had like one of these really cool lines. He's like, "My grandfather, he was into voodoo." He said when there's like they asked like, "What is it?" He's like, "There's no more room in hell," and they're like, "What?" And he's like, "Voodoo. When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth." Kind of thing. So he was very well prepared for this. He kind of like had an inkling that this is a thing that could happen because of his grandfather, and he survives the whole way through. Like the entire time, he's like sneaking around while the biker gang is in there. He survives. Like nobody even really ever sees him, other than like there was a minor time where he got in a gunfight, but he like took it out really carefully. He was like sneaking around in vents and stuff, while Steven was just being a jackass. Yeah. So. No, I don't really have much to say. Like, Peter is like the kind of guy you want.
The only weird thing about Peter, and this is going to sound really terrible, but my God, his eyes are far apart.
Yeah, they are. They really are. So we'll talk about Francine. Francine, I liked her. Like, I think she started out damsel in distress.
And she turned cool
a little bit
like,
at the beginning.
No, I liked when she was like, teach me how to shoot, teach me how to fly the helicopter. Like, I want to live.
And then Steven was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And she's like, what if something happens to you?
No, woman, I don't want a woman that wants to live. Like, it didn't make any sense. Why?
And then Peter backed her up. He's like, no, that makes a ton of sense. She knows she needs to know how to fight, and somebody needs to know how to fly that helicopter if something happens.
Her demands were totally reasonable. You know, honestly, I felt like she was kind of more like a proto Sarah Connor character.
Yeah,
you know,
I can see
where it's
that.
like I want to live. Like I don't need a man to help me live, teach me how to live, and I thought that was really cool.
The only thing I think they could have done to make her a little stronger is if they did have her like go down and help the guys like defend the place from the zombies.
It wasn't that kind of movie.
It wasn't. But you know, she was fine and she learned how to fight.
I just thought her request, like I want to fly a helicopter, I want to learn how to shoot
reasonable,
a gun. Like,
downright reasonable,
totally reasonable requests for a pregnant woman.
Yeah. And then Steven, God, that guy was fucking worthless. He was a coward initially, and then he didn't know how to fight. He almost killed Peter several times.
Oh, many times.
He almost led the zombies back up the stair. Because of him, the Hare Krishna zombie got upstairs to where Francine. They barely got back before Francine would have got killed. Like he almost got his pregnant girlfriend killed. And he was a wimp. And then later on, when during like
a wimp, casually, he was the reason.
And then he reasonably, like, it's his fault that once the gang members got there that they started actively trying to kill them.
Oh, yeah.
And then
totally his fault.
He runs away, gets in the elevator, but for some reason stays sitting on top of the elevator. And then the bad guys go and find him. They start shooting. He gets shot. And then for some reason, instead of crawling directly into the vent, he crawls back in the elevator. And then the zombies come. Like, you're not going to be able to climb up the thing one-handed.
His death was his own design. Fuck that, dude.
He should have just stayed up in the elevator and crawled through the vents, but he drops back down.
He shouldn't have been such a bitch the whole movie either.
Like, he was really dumb. I don't think he added anything to this movie.
I mean, he just flew him out there. He was a pilot.
Yeah, that's it. And once Francine learned how to fly, he could have just left. It didn't matter.
I mean, honestly, if you wanted to contribute, you would have taught everyone how to fly.
Right?
Hey,
I don't think they didn't have enough gas to teach everybody how to fly.
Well, you could still run them through the controls and show them what all the instruments mean. And be like, hey, in the off chance that you have to get this helicopter off of the ground, this is what you do. They didn't know. That could have been solved in a montage, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I guess so.
You know what I mean? Like, dude,
yeah.
Like, if you had been there, would you not have been like, dude, Steven, teach me how to fly this thing?
I would have wanted to learn how to fly.
Even if we don't have the gas to get us off the ground, just at least show me what all this shit does, because in case I need to fly it, I want to know how.
I'd
rather die in a helicopter crash than get eaten by zombies. That's all I'm saying.
Totally. So, God, there's so much. I wrote so many notes for this movie. I don't think we're gonna have time to hit up everything I want to talk about, but I think we should talk about the themes in this movie were pretty heavy-handed, anti-consumerism.
Yeah, but I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. So they did it in a couple different ways that were kind of interesting. So when they first get to the mall, it's them talking about all the food and showing like all the food, like the Spam, and then like, oh, everything's great. Let's go on a shopping
spree. Yeah, also
spree.
when they were all yucked out by Spam, like, fuck that, dude. Spam's good. I like Spam.
Yeah. But then the other thing that was really interesting was once they were in the mall, like before they were actually looking around the mall, but there was like a little montage of the zombies in the mall. Like you would see mannequins, and then you'd see zombie, then mannequin, then zombie, mannequin, then zombie, kind of thing. So it was kind of interesting that they were like tying him into this mindless shopping thing. And then once they cleared out the zombies, then it became very much like people, like the people, the survivors, Steven, Francine, Peter, were very. They were shopping.
They still grabbed up
all the... They were shopping, stealing all the money.
What really
they were having
did it for
fun.
me was, dude, they grab up all the cash at the bank. Like, what good is cash anymore?
No, it's not.
It's worthless.
And they made the joke, look, just in case.
Paper, you know? Like, bullets are good. Guns are good.
You have Francine put on furs and, like, all the crazy makeup, and they get all the nice clothing, and, you know...
Oh, dude, about, all like, the makeup makes sense, man. If I was in a zombie survival situation, I'd go full-on fucking Ziggy Stardust. I don't care. If I found some makeups, I'd wear makeup. In the zombie world, when all those fucking bikers come in just to freak them out, I'd be wearing like Kiss makeup. Fuck those guys.
But yeah, you know, very heavy-handed themes of consumerism, and you know, it made sense. Like this, you know, this was, you know, right before the 80s, 1978, and the 1980s was, you know, the yuppies, and like we really got into that consumerism. Kind of like in the 80s, everyone's like, you can have everything, you can get that job, you can go to school, anything you want, you can get, kind of thing. So, you know, it was kind of forward thinking a little bit.
You know what they didn't have? They didn't have a pharmacy or drugs.
They did.
In this one or in the remake?
In the original one, they did, because there was a point where like they had like I think it was
they had morphine. No, she had hella morphine. Never mind, I'm wrong.
They had morphine.
Totally
they had
wrong.
Nice bandages and everything like that.
They were doping up that one fool after he got bit. Hella much on morphine.
And then, like in terms of the zombies, these are your classic zombies that were the run-of-the-mill zombies in movies, video games, TV shows, Resident Evil, up until the I don't know what year 28 Days Later came out. I think that was actually after the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
I think
they were around the same time.
I don't know. Yeah.
So then, you know, these were the classic zombies for decades. There's not much to say. They're dumb, slow. There were some interesting things about it. Like there was that weird one-eyed scientist who talked about possibly feeding zombies to keep them you know, at bay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But classic zombie movies. I think after we talk about the second movie, I'll kind of just bring up a few issues that I have just with the zombie movies in general.
So secondary question though, is in a zombie crisis, are you the type of personality that is going to try to live? Or are you going to check out? You know, like if you got one bullet left, are you using it on yourself?
If I had one bullet left, I'm using it on myself. Not right away. But I mean, like if I know, like
I'm saying if I was in a mall, I wouldn't use it on myself because I think there's plenty of options to survive, you know? But like when you watch shows like The Walking Dead, for example, right?
Dude, it depends. Even on The Walking in Los Angeles, where I am currently,
that's Fear the Walking Dead.
Well, so that's actually the thing. Actually, Robert Kirkman and everyone who does, is it Robert Kirkman? No, Alex Kirkman.
Robert Kirkman is
no, it is Robert Kirkman.
Yeah.
Who does like Walking Dead. They say presumably the zombies won't last forever because they are rotting and decomposing. Eventually they'll go away.
Well, you don't know that at the time, you know.
At the time, no. In Los Angeles, I honestly don't think I would even have a chance. There's just too many people here.
You're gonna punch your own card. You're gonna check out.
Probably in Los Angeles. If I was up in,
if you got two bullets, you live with your wife, right?
Put our heads side to side.
You just want one bullet for both of you.
Yeah.
So romantic.
Just in case.
God, what a guy. Yep. What a fucking guy you
are. But
I would blast my wife and then myself. You would try to do it with one. What a guy.
Yep. With even when I was still up in the San Francisco area. I live in Pacifica. I was far, you know, it's a small town. I was far enough away. I think I would try to find a way to make it.
You could have stole a boat.
I could have stole a boat. Also, like where I lived wasn't like in a main. There wasn't a ton of people, so I probably wouldn't get a ton of zombies coming over there. Just a few neighbors. Also, I was right by the ocean, so there was like that dock where I could go crabbing. Like I could eat. Like I could find food.
Well, you got to get off
there was
the
a ton
mainland.
Of crabs. But like I could find a way to live there. I think like if I really had to, I think I could have hunkered down.
All right, but now in
for
LA,
a little while
in Los Angeles,
in LA, no way. There's no way I could survive. There's just too many fucking people.
2 lives done. You're out.
Yep.
Yeah. See,
I think in
know.
LA,
I don't know what to do now.
In LA, there's just no way.
I mean, I'm in a shitty part of San Francisco where there's a lot of people that live around me. It'd be bad.
Yeah. It would be very hard for you to get out.
I'd have to get down to Pacifica and steal that boat that you were too much of a coward to steal.
Well, you could go to the marina. You're probably closer to the marina.
No, I'm not. I'm on the west side, man. I'm by the the sea.
Yeah. But
I
anyway.
need to get a Zodiac.
But basically, man, I don't have much more to talk. I mean, I could talk about this movie. Like, I'll just tell you a little bit of stuff that I know about this movie because I've researched it a lot. So,
all right,
this movie basically got this movie basically got made because I want to say some European guy went to George Romero and was like, "That movie was really cool that you did. I think you should." Yeah, it was a European. No, he wasn't a European guy, but some European guy came to him and was like, "Hey, I think you should make another movie." And George Romero was like, I don't know. I don't really have a ton of ideas. And he's like, why don't you come and live in like my estate for a while and just like bang out a script kind of thing. Man, so they didn't have a ton of money on this.
That for me.
No. Like that main biker gang guy with the leather jacket and the mustache.
Yeah.
Who like swings. He was also like he did a lot of makeup and special effects for a lot of George Romero movies.
That's cool. He was also the sheriff in the remake.
He was the sheriff in the remake. He also did a lot of the stunts. Like, they didn't have any stunt coordinators for this, so they just had a couple random guys who worked on the movie.
He's also the guy that's got, like, that dick gun in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
What's his name?
But I don't know his name. But basically, he did a lot of the stunts and, like, hurt himself at some point. Like, they had to do stuff. Like, they had no stunt coordinators or whatever. This movie had to get shut down during the holiday season because it would have been too expensive to take down the Christmas decorations and put them back up every single day in the mall. So they had to go on a hiatus. They also got some of the extras who were zombies got drunk one night and like crashed like a car into like a support beam in the mall.
His name is Tom Savini.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
So they I've got a ton of facts about this movie. They had no idea. They made up the special effects as they went. Like they had no idea how to actually do it at the time. So they just their blood was like peanut butter, corn syrup, and like red food dye.
Ew.
So it was really that's why it looked kind of weird. Yeah.
What does peanut butter add to that blood mixture?
I don't know, man. I didn't make it.
Yeah, it makes it all creamy or chunky.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of weird stuff in this movie. They also there's things that are interesting because it was like very meticulously planned in some regards. Like in the very first time they go into the mall, there's a point where they couldn't get one of the doors shut.
Yeah.
So like because one of the zombies kind of like grabs his rifle, and so Peter like shoves the rifle through the door and lets the zombie keep it. At the very end of the movie, when Peter's kind of like, I just want to die, but then changes his mind right as Francine's gonna lift off with the helicopter. He runs up to the roof, and like on the roof is the same zombie still holding the rifle.
Yeah, yeah, he's been holding the whole dang movie.
Yeah, so like they still they planned some things pretty well.
Also,
but then there's other
the
things,
motorcycles on a rampage in the mall was pretty cool.
It was cool, but really dumb. Like they made a point where, like that's a professional army.
Cool. It was cool to watch.
Yeah, and there was like that one guy, but then they just decided during different scenes that they wanted to do stuff. So there was one guy thought it would be funny to do the put a guy in the arm pressure or
that was
the blood pressure cuff.
Fuck, dude. Getting
so,
in the arm pressure cuff is like you're just trying to die. You just want to change yourself.
So he goes into it once, and some guy was like, "Don't do that."
No,
and that was when there was almost no zombies. There was almost no zombies in the mall at that point. But then he goes and does it right after he sees a friend die, and there's like hundreds of zombies around him. So yeah, that was kind of dumb. Like, so it's like, for as well planned out as this movie was, at some points, there was other things that just really didn't.
Do you think
make sense.
Then, as a child who watched this movie, were you like, man, there's gonna be smart people and there's gonna be dumb people?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I knew it. Yeah. So you got to count on the dummies, right?
But there was
the
also
dummies
like, the
are your
zombies
meat shield,
movie.
Man. You got to count on a lot of dummies.
You don't need to outrun the zombies. You need to outrun the dummies.
You got to outrun the dummies. That's exactly.
Yep. But like these zombies were really inconsistent in this movie. Like in that part where they went to go and get the car and drive around to the four exits.
You got to outrun the dumbest people, not the fastest zombies. The dumbest people.
But there's
fuck you, dummies.
This movie was.
Me and Mike are gonna live Yeah.
You and I have actually kind of talked about shit like this. If something gnarly happened, we're going to
That's
this particular
how you
room
live,
in
Michael. Like, that's how you
We've
live.
talked about the putting the bomb implants in tigers. Like, we've got scenarios where we can survive.
Dude. We're gonna get out. We're gonna get out alive.
So,
and
man,
our loved
I don't
ones,
even remember what I was
and
gonna say.
our followers
And
and patrons on Patreon are gonna live.
So, Alex Ortiz, we got you.
Our one patron, dude, you're gonna live, bro. We got you.
So, basically, in a nutshell, this movie is pretty interesting. Walking zombies. We talked about the themes. We talked about the survivors. I'm sure we'll bring up some more stuff once we move into the other one. Do you have anything else you want to talk about on this movie?
No, dude, this movie was a ton of fun. A great zombie movie, a great 70s movie. I have no problems with this movie.
Oh, I've got one other thing that I think is pretty interesting.
What do you got?
So, and I think it just works with this whole movie and also at one point they did not want to cast Roger, the white guy who played Roger. They didn't want to cast him because he's like 9 inches shorter than Peter, and most of his scenes took place. Most of his scenes took place with Peter, and so everyone's like, no one's gonna like that size discrepancy. And so he fought, and he's like, when have you ever noticed anything like that past the first 15 minutes of the movie? Once you get in and with the characters established, no one's gonna know. So they're just gonna think that guy's a big dude, and it's fine.
Yeah.
And I think that like if our listeners decide to watch this movie, go with that. Watch your first 15 minutes. You're going to watch this movie and you're going to think it's kind of crappy. The special effects are lame. But once you get 15, 20 minutes in this movie and you kind of accept that it's an old movie, the movie rips.
I mean,
like,
once you get
cool.
into the mall, dude, and accept that you're going to try to live in a mall, it rips.
It gets really interesting.
You could totally live in a mall. I think that's the point of this movie. Is you
the way
totally
they clear out the
mall
is great. The way they block the doors and lock it out. Like, these guys had a pretty good plan.
A great plan.
It just fell apart because those gang guys saw the helicopter.
Even if they had come in and you just kept quiet, it would not have fallen apart. And if you had cleared out the gun store, you would have been fine.
Well, and they had all that food. Like, the only thing that would have been bad is if those guys came in, they would have had all those zombies in there, and it would have been very hard to re-clear that out with just the 3 of them.
Sure.
But they could have stayed where they were
or fucking jammed out on your helicopter.
Or jammed out on the helicopter. So
with a ton of bullets and a ton of food.
A ton of ammunition and food. Yep, absolutely.
So, shame on them.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this movie. It's corny, it's old.
I like
it has
movies.
Near and dear
this
place
is
in
one
my
of
heart.
the first movies that makes you think in this way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is, I remember.
It's way different than Night of the Living Dead. This is one that makes you think in the way of surviving the event and making a life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we should just move on to the second movie, the Zack Snyder one.
All right, cool.
All right, so the 2004 Dawn of the Dead by Zack Snyder, this is actually his first movie. I don't know if you know that. He did like commercials and music videos before this, but this is his first full-on movie.
Wow,
yeah.
Really? Dang.
It's a really
cool
good
movie
first movie. Like, it's pretty insane, and he did a lot of interesting things with this movie that hadn't been done in zombie movies prior.
What was strange to me is I thought some of the most interesting things happen at the very beginning.
There's a lot of really cool stuff that happened at the beginning.
Like when she, Sarah Pauly was like escaping from her house after like that little girl
and then her
turned into a
husband,
zombie, and then her husband, and then she has to get in the car, and like the ambulance
hits the neighbor who's like aiming a gun at her.
Yeah, dude, like all of that stuff is bananas, and then like the really like the helicopter view of more
lots
car
of weird
crashes
stuff going on.
just...
You see like the ambulance that crashed, and you see like the paramedic getting attacked by zombies in the. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff that is just like, holy crap, this is
pretty
terrifying.
Wild. Like,
and it happens quick.
Yeah, it's all hell's breaking loose really quick in that movie, and I thought that was cool. Honestly, I thought the Johnny Cash song. When
you want to hear something interesting about that? So,
no, I don't.
I'm going to tell you anyway.
Tell me, so go ahead.
The studio fought Zack Snyder and did not want to include that song in the movie. They didn't think it was appropriate. Now, Johnny Cash just died just under a year prior to the movie's release, so it probably would have been pretty fresh when he was trying to get the rights to that song.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did not want that song in there, but I think it was perfect for that part.
Yeah. Well, So I had that album at that time, so it was fresh for me as a connoisseur of rock and roll and just music in general, American culture. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was perfectly used, and I almost always hate that. And I really wanted to hate the use of that song "Hurt" in the Logan
but it
trailer.
worked so well for it.
And then I loved it again. So what does that say
Johnny
about Johnny
Cash music? Like "Hurt" is something that I've used. When I used to have to do audio demos when I sold speakers back in the day, a long time ago, I used to use "Hurt" as my like demo. I'm a big Johnny Cash fan. I love Johnny Cash.
But did you use 9 Inch Nails?
No, I did not.
No,
I used Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
Because it's well, for a while, right after Johnny Cash died, or 9 Inch Nails didn't perform that song for a while. They said it was his song now, so that's pretty amazing. Yeah,
they gave it to him, dude. Well, you know, Reznor gave it to him.
So, let's just summarize this one really quick.
Let's just have a moment of silence for Johnny Cash.
All right. So
okay,
this one's a little. This one, the plot's a little simpler. It's a lot more frenetic and fast paced. Basically, in a nutshell, the main character is a nurse, and her name is Anna, and she gets off of a double shift, and she there's some weird stuff they say one of this guy died from like a bite, and she was like super confused. But then she goes home and has like a nice little thing with her neighbor kid about skating.
I think
it is her neighbor's daughter. Yeah, bangs her husband, takes a nice sexy shower.
Well,
yeah, and then the next morning, like the neighbor's daughter, the little girl is there, all zombied up, bites her husband. The guy turns like instantly and starts attacking. She gets out, and you mentioned that scene. She drives. She stops
Well, fortunately, she's skinny
through that little window. Yeah, luckily.
Window.
So she gets. Yeah. For some reason, she stops on like this freeway, and like some guy tries to like carjack her. And she like drives off this like the median and like goes down a cliff, hits a tree. Luckily, no zombies come. She gets rescued by Ving Rhames, who plays Kenneth. Ving Rhames is tight. So Ving Rhames like petitioned to be in this movie. When he found out that it was being made, he begged to be in this movie.
Good for him.
He's great,
awesome.
And he's one of the movie. I'm sure they were like, okay, because he's like one of those actors that's recognizable but not like super expensive. Like it's a good get. He's a good get.
Yeah.
He and her kind of partner up.
I want Ving Rhames to play me in the movie of this podcast.
I feel like most of our listeners would say Seth Rogen.
No.
So they find some guy named Michael, and they get Mekhi Phifer, who plays Andre, and his like wife, and they tell them that like, don't go the way that you're gonna go. We had 8 people, now there's 3 of us, and like it's insane. Like just come with us. So they end up they go into a mall. They narrowly get into the mall after being chased by a one-armed Asian zombie. Yeah, apparently that's only in the unrated cut. Like the one-armed zombie is not in the original. Yeah,
I watched the unrated cut. I watched that one.
So they get into the mall.
So much.
Yeah,
scarier.
It's 9 minutes longer.
And so much less rated.
So they get into the mall and they like do some stuff in the mall. They attract like the attention of like there was like 3 security guards staying in the mall, but
those guys were.
Well, the one guy wasn't the kid. Like the one that was nicer was from Air Bud.
Nice guy wasn't, but I had a problem with like that.
CJ is the guy from House of Cards.
I guess, but like, dude, why are you gonna like? You're just gonna treat everybody
well,
like
I kind of.
Like right off the bat?
I get it to an extent, survival situation.
They're all clearly regular folks,
but he's worried.
Man.
Like you're in a survival situation. Like he's still a dick. He comes around at the end, but
he becomes awesome at the end, and I was really glad of that.
Yeah, he's kind of a dick, but
at the beginning I was like, man.
Also, keep in mind, like, no offense to any security guards listening. But there are a lot of people who work security who have that like complex that they wanted to be cops, but they couldn't make it, couldn't cut it.
But they all have guns. They're all armed security guys. Like no one's questioning.
No, they're
authority.
Not. They're just like, this is your place.
You have like several women, minorities. Like, dude, just be fucking cool. Like, there's not there's many
only
people trying to live in
4
the
of them,
it's
or
only
5
a
of them.
few more people.
So they. end up convincing them to let them stay. And the guy who plays the character Mike was kind of like, he was pretty cool. I really like this character. He was like talking to CJ, and he's like, hey, have you thought of this? And he's like, yeah, you're really, and he's like, of course I did. He's like, yeah, you're a really smart guy. I bet you also thought about putting a sign up on the roof for helicopters.
Oh, well, he's the guy who sold televisions at Best
So
Buy.
he's like really smart, and he manipulates this guy, making him still feel like he's in charge, but basically like, this is what we should be doing. Eventually they do get to the point where they can get.
Well, that's what they teach you at Best Buy.
Life skills,
how to be nice
build
to
rapport.
How to be nice to fucking raging
This is retail in
assholes.
general. But eventually, like, another group of survivors come, and they're driving a big truck. Now, those big trucks that they were driving, I don't know if you noticed this, but it's the same trucks that were in the original movie that they were using to block the doors. So there are a lot of Easter eggs in this movie.
Yeah, no, you need trucks.
But the trucks
doors.
well, in the original
Everybody
movie, the
knows that.
trucks that the second wave of survivors are driving is one of the same trucks from the original 1978 movie. So another group of survivors come, cool. They get them in. They're a little bit less of a like assholes to this group. By this point, they've kind of figured out that the bite is what causes it. So they kind of quarantine the new survivors. You've got Ty Burrell from.
Well, no, what kind of pissed me off was like Sarah Polly was like, "Oh, the bite is what does it," and then the Best Buy guy was like, "Oh, okay, well we got to go smoke that one idiot because he got bit." Well, don't kill him.
Yeah,
like, that was a dumb.
Well, like
scene.
I get she was showing them how to let him die first and then shoot him, but that's really gnarly.
Well, whatever. Like it was her hypothesis, and he was like, "No, that makes sense. So I'm gonna go kill him." Well, don't kill him. Oh, do you want to kill him? Like she was like totally like shitty about it.
So basically, in a nutshell, they go through and two of the people had been bitten, and they quickly turn. They get rid of them. And then there's this montage of them having a great time at the mall. There's Ty Burrell, who plays Phil Dunphy in Modern Family, is in this, and he plays this like super kind of creepy like sexual dude who's like just kind of a total douchebag. And he's in it. He's like shithead. Banging some random girl, and they're like filming it. There's like they're playing basketball. They're having fun. Like they're having a great time. It seemed fun.
Yeah, well, and honestly, during that time, I couldn't help but think about like how great a time.
Oh, we would have had a great time. We would have been like watching movies, playing video games, like doing all kinds of stuff.
Oh, it would have been the best. Like we'd have been making coffee drinks for each other.
Then they meet this,
broing down.
There's actually a bro down scene with
the boys.
Ving Rhames. And like the guy who owns the gun store across the street, they're playing chess and shooting celebrity lookalike zombies and stuff like that. So after a while, it gets kind of dumb. So they decide that they don't want to be there anymore for whatever reason. Inexplicably, they just decide
why don't you want to be there anymore? It's a great life.
And so they come up with this plan to like kit out these tour buses in the parking garage.
And actually, those
they're pretty cool. No, it's definitely cool. Like, it made for a cool movie, but it doesn't make sense.
Like, the chainsaw slits are cool. Like, they're cool battle. It's almost like a Mad Max vehicle.
It makes sense for a movie that's fun, but it doesn't make sense that, like, out of nowhere they decide that they want to leave. Like, they've got it good. No zombies have gotten in. They're not really having any issues.
No raiders have gotten in.
Why change it? So, like, there's a minor issue where, like, the power goes out one time.
I want that life now.
No, carefree and everything. So there's a point where like the power goes out and they have to go and like restart the generator. And there's a weird legless zombie that somehow got up to the pipes. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, he was like
monkeying around. So they had like one guy got killed in that scene. So only one person died during this entire time. But that was like the catalyst. Like, oh, we shouldn't be here anymore. Like shit can still happen. He was like.
Yeah, you should.
You should totally stay there. Even if the power goes bad, like you can still stay there for quite a while. So that happened, and then they had to like go save their friend Andy across the street because he sends them a message that they've got no food. So they somehow figured out that the dogs, like they find a dog at one point too. They find out that the dog is safe from the zombies, so they send the dog across the street. Zombies get in.
And that didn't make sense either. Like, why were the zombies not interested in the dog?
But they go through and like a couple zombies get into that guy's house / shop. And then one of the girls decides like who really likes the dog decides to like risk everything to go out there and get the dog. And now because they had to go and rescue them, like shit went down. So Ty Burrell's character was supposed to like guard the door, but then he didn't. He just left. So like they had to like get in there, and they were being chased by zombies. So they got screwed and had to basically escalate their plan earlier, like start it right away. And then shit went down. They drove the little tanks.
They were trying to get out Phil Dunphy's
they're trying to get
vote.
out Phil Dunphy's vote. And once again, it's such a stupid plan. They don't know for sure that these things are shit. Like, why are you going to risk it?
They don't know for sure that fool has a vote.
So they get screwed over. They do that. And then, there's a point where, like, that scene was really cool. So they go out and they're, like, kicking ass in these vehicles. But it turns out, like, there's thousands and thousands of zombies. Like, enough where there's, like, you can't move. In a parking lot, there's that many. Like, there's tens of thousands of these zombies.
To, like, blow them up.
And so they get through with using propane tanks. And there's that one zombie who actually catches the propane tank, like a giant muscular one. The guy's like, "You gotta be kidding me!"
Yeah, and holds it up to get exploded.
So they drive out, and then at one point, they take a turn. Like, the guy starts a chainsaw. They take a turn too sharp. He kills a couple people, like, in the van. So then Ving Rhames crashes. And then they have to, like, run to the next truck. Anna has to go and get the key. And because of that, and this is something that I've seen this movie a bunch of times, but I never noticed it until this time. Like, Mike gets bitten. And, like, at the end of the movie, when they get on the boat, he's like, I got bitten. I got to stay. I never noticed the bite. But this time around, I did. Like, when she goes to get in, like, a zombie just, like, bites his arm. But I never noticed it till this time.
Yeah.
They get on the boat. He shoots himself. That's actually in the unrated cut. They don't show it in the original one. You just hear it in the original one. And then they go and the credits roll. You hear "Down with the Sickness" by Disturbed. And then throughout the credits, it's intercut with, like, footage from, like, the guy's camera that he had on the boat. And it shows them, like, finding another boat with a zombie head. And it shows them getting to the island. And then there's just a fuck ton of zombies and they all die. So kind of more of a downer of an ending. And there's a lot of other cool stuff that happened in this. Like, that was just breezing through the summary.
I think if you had stayed in the mall, you'd have been fine.
Absolutely.
At least for longer.
Totally. What was kind of cool about this one, and it made a lot more sense, because, like, gun stores aren't as prevalent now as they would have been, I guess, in the 70s. Like, there's a point where they're like, we've got 9 shotgun shells, we've got 18 9mm, and we've got 7 Magnum rounds. Like, we need to make this work. Kind of thing. And then CJ had the steady mind when they went to go get the girl. Like, they all go risk their lives to go get that girl across the street, and he grabs, like, 2 giant duffel bags of ammo and guns. So that was smart.
Yeah. Well, CJ turned cool after being a total
he became
asshole.
heroic. Like, he was still kind of an asshole about it, like a smart ass, but, like, he went back to save I can't remember the guy's character.
Well, he blew up
he did that. He sacrificed himself, and he kind of made that joke, like, "Oh, of course." And then, like, it was really funny. Like, at one point when they decide to do the escape plan, CJ's like, "Really, we're gonna do this? We're gonna just go kit out these vans and go?" And he's like, "All right, fine." Kind of thing. Like, he thought it was dumb, but he realized, like, everyone else wanted to do it, so he just went for it. And there was that one part when they went to go rescue the girl, and they had to drop back down the sewers. I wrote down the character's name. But the guy, like, gets, like, distracted and falls down the sewer, breaks both of his legs, and CJ tries to save him. He's, like, dragging him. He hands him 2 guns, and the guy's, like, shooting zombies while he's dragging him. And then eventually he drops, like, the guy because, like, he gets grabbed by a couple zombies and he shoots him. But it was a really, like, he ended up being a really cool kind of a Daryl, like, kind of character from, like, Walking Dead. He was very Daryl-ish.
Yeah, he just went from being such a shithead to...
Dude, Ving Rhames was tight in this movie. I just want to talk about Ving Rhames a little bit more. Like, there's one point,
all right,
like, when they go to reset the like, the power generator, and they go, and it's just Michael, CJ, and, like, the other security guard, and then, like, Ving Rhames comes, and, like, throughout the movie, like, Ving Rhames doesn't want to be there. He keeps talking about wanting to go see his brother in Fort Pastor. He wanted to go save his brother, and then you find out later that, like, the Fort Pastor, like, when the second group of survivors comes, like, Phil Dunphy's like, "Oh no, Fort Pastor, like, fell. Like, we were just there. Like, it's everyone's dead," and everyone's kind of like, "Dude, shut up. He's got family there," and he just keeps talking. But when they go to reset it, like, Michael, the 2 security guards go to do it, and then Ving Rhames comes down, and they're like, "Oh, you're coming with this," and he's like, "No, you're coming with them. You're coming with me," kind of thing. Like, that was so fucking cool. Yeah, that was really cool. He's a great guy.
He was cool. He was a cool character.
Yeah, I thought he was great. Like, he was awesome.
A very sympathetic character.
So this one, the character, with the exception of Anna and Mike and Kenneth and I'd say CJ, a lot of those secondary characters. Oh, actually, Andre. We haven't talked about Mekhi Phifer's character at all. His character was fucking crazy.
Well, he was.
So his
stupid.
wife or girlfriend was pregnant. She gets bitten. They hide it from the group.
She got bit.
And for some reason, she lives a lot longer than others. I'm thinking it's probably because of the baby.
Well,
like maybe.
For some reason, they just let them hide out away from the group.
Well, like they go to check on her.
That doesn't make
so
any
at this
sense.
point, I think it'd only been a couple of days, but they go to check on her. Like the older lady who's really cool. Like there's like this older lady who's like this bad girl. Like she's cool. Like she goes and finds out like her friend is like the other old guy who's like the gay organ player at the church. And she's like, oh, he's going to go there. So she goes to rescue her friend, ends up rescuing a bunch of other people in her truck. And then she goes and sees Mekhi Phifer's wife, who's like a zombie strapped to the bed. She goes to shoot her. Mekhi Phifer shoots her right after, and then she shoots him. Like they kill each other. And then there's a zombie baby. That was crazy.
Yeah, but also, dude, I mean, if my lady's pregnant and has been bit by a zombie, I want the actual nurse of the group
take a look at
to
it.
be present.
That made no sense.
Like, let's just size up the situation. Like this situation is probably pretty fucked. But let's have the most medically trained person take a look at it, and that's what pissed me off about like that whole portrayal.
But yeah, he ends up killing her, and that was kind of sad.
Well, you got to kill them both, man.
Well, no, I meant he killed the old lady. That was sad. Like she was a cool.
Oh no! I mean, you got to kill your wife and the baby.
But yeah, that was weird. The other character that probably got the next most kind of development was the Phil Dunphy character, and they had that kind of back and forth with him and Anna. And he's like, if I ever turn into a zombie, like fucking shoot me in the head, and she did.
She had to because he
but,
did.
With the exception of those main characters, like the characters didn't have very much of an arc. This movie only took place in a month, and the only way you really know that is if you look at the dates on the cameras. Also on the special footage, there's a whole special footage. Like if you guys watch this movie, find it on DVD. It's probably cheap at this point, but there's like some really great behind the scenes. I don't watch a lot of behind the scenes stuff for movies, but this one's really cool. There's a whole like featurette where it takes place from Andy's perspective, and he's doing like little testimonials, and it's really great. But it takes place in just under a month. So that's really the only issue I have with this movie is in less than a month, this whole zombie apocalypse happens. Anna sees her husband get bitten by a child zombie, almost kills her, but then she falls in love with Michael and like kisses him and stuff like that. Like this all happened in a month. Like that's pretty crazy turnaround. There's that redheaded girl who kind of like who's like obsessed with the dog. Her father was the guy who got bitten. So, like, he's dead.
Yeah.
And then instantly it kicks into a montage, which, by the way, is an amazing montage because it has Freddie Cheese doing a cover of Disturbed Down with the Sickness. Like, Richard Cheese, that's what it is. Ricardo Queso doing, like, the Muzak lounge singer version of Disturbed. She's having fun. Like, her dad just died, and she's, like, having fun. She's got a dog and a new boyfriend. Like, that was the only thing I thought was a little weird. I think they should have made it last a little bit longer, but, whatever. But let's talk about the zombies. You kind of talked about already, running zombies. Oh, my God.
These zombies were way scary.
Terrifying. And they made these, like,
way
weird,
more of a problem.
Like, growls and screams. Oh, super creepy.
Dude, yeah. Just the running zombies are the worst.
Oh, my God.
Like fast zombies.
There's nothing you could. There's no way you could survive these things. And like, even that big lady that they had to bring in on a wheelbarrow, she got hella fast. After she was fucking limber and just fucking ready to run. Oh my God! I would not want that would terrify.
It would scarify me. It would scarify the shit out of me. That would terrify
me more than like a fit running zombie. Just because like that person, I would see that one and be like, oh, I could just do a nice little like jog away from it. No, she was like fucking sprinting.
No, dude, I'm done. No, I don't want to. I don't want to live. I
like,
don't want to live in a world
I would
where that's
want to
a
stay.
thing.
But if I didn't get to that mall, like I wouldn't be trying to just like hide out in a house. Like it's not worth it.
No, dude, no. It's never gonna get better.
So.
You got to worry about these fat old ladies running up on you? You're gonna live in a world where that's what you got to worry about.
The other thing
dude.
that was
I
really interesting about these zombies, and they do it a lot in The Walking Dead, but I think this is the first like zombie movie to do this. Like there are other zombie movies that have weird like super like faces ripped off or like showing bones or whatever, but like this is the first one that actually shows like a rate of decay with the zombies. So like when they first turn, like at the beginning, they're humans that are dead and everything. But then you get like halfway through the movie and you can see that their skin's kind of turning different color. And then by the time you get to the end of the movie, it's a month. Like humans would do decay pretty quick. You're seeing like rotting flesh. You're starting to see bones. You're starting to see like some zombies who are probably zombies who were affected like the first day have like skin sliding off their face and stuff like that. You know, I thought that was a really cool, interesting touch, and that was something that apparently Zack Snyder really fought for. He hired like a bunch of makeup artists. They planned it out really well, where like the zombies in the front had like the most makeup, and then as you got further back, the zombies had just like little masks by the end, but you couldn't really tell. But they put in a lot of detail that throughout the movie, the zombies looked different, and that makes a lot of sense. I thought that was a really, really cool kind of thing to do. Themes, I don't think there was any theme for this movie. It was just I think it was just like, don't be an asshole, and you probably like, all the assholes died. It's unfortunate like those people died from the chainsaw because the thing flipped, but you know shit happens.
Oh, fuck all that shit.
Man, this movie had a lot of really cool stuff, like shooting the celebrity looking zombies. You know, there's a lot of really cool little things like that. I didn't have a ton of things that I didn't like about this movie. I said I wish it took place over several months, so it made a little bit more sense with that the romantic subplot kind of thing. That would have made it make a little bit more sense. And that, however, like how the fuck did that one zombie with no legs get up on those poles? That made no sense. Any other last things you kind of want to talk about on this movie? Like, there's a lot of really cool scenes in this. There are a lot of really cool zombie kills. You know, the ending I thought was amazing. I loved that touch with the found footage kind of ending. I thought that was really cool.
Honestly, I liked both of the movies. I thought they were both very good.
Yeah, so did I. This movie kind of kicked off the resurgence of zombies. Like, this was well before Walking Dead. A year later, George Romero came out with another movie called Land of the Dead that had like John Leguizamo in it and like the guy who plays Gordon in the Gotham TV series. That wasn't very good. And then he went on to do a bunch of he did like Diary of the Dead and Something of the Dead. He came out with a bunch of shitty zombie movies year after year after year that became garbage. But this one I thought was really good. Like, I think this one and 28 Days Later were like the first of the good zombie movies and kind of the last good zombie movies before Walking Dead came out. Do you know who owns Slither? Slither came out a year after this too. And do you know who directed Slither?
What?
James Gunn. Do you know who wrote this movie? He wrote this movie. So he wrote this movie. There was probably gave him the inspiration to do Slither, and then did Slither. So I thought that was really interesting. James Gunn writing and then moving on and doing it. Like, Slither was, I believe, his first major motion picture as well. So pretty cool that came from here. George Romero also got writing credit on this movie. This movie, I mentioned a couple Easter eggs, but this movie like pays homage to the original quite a bit. Like, I mentioned the trucks. You mentioned briefly the several cast members came back. The main gang guy from the original one was the sheriff, and he was like, shoot him in the head, burn the bodies. Hey, there's a Twitcher over there. Peter played a like evangelical kind of guy on TV, and he was saying like the same thing when the dead walk the earth, you know, hell's full, and he just starts calling basically everyone heathens. It's because you allow, you know, homosexuality, and you allow this and you allow that, and kind of thing. That was really cool. And then Roger also was in the movie as the general who was like, come to Fort Pastor and we'll take care of you. So he was in it. And then the last kind of Easter egg, at least that I saw, there was a store called like a decor store called Galen Ross, which is actually the name of the actress who played Francine in the original. So, but that was the main kind of thing, the Easter eggs, at least that I saw. I'm sure there's more. There was also a song in there towards the beginning of the movie that was in the original movie too, just kind of the song, which was also sampled in a Gorillaz song in 2004. Like, I don't remember the name of the album, but it was the same album that Feel Good Inc. was on. They sampled some of the music from the original Dawn of the Dead. So those are just a few of the Easter eggs that I have, and these are. I've seen this movie so many times. I didn't even have to look any of that stuff up. I just knew that stuff because I've watched it too many times. But yeah, really great movie. I liked them both. I don't necessarily feel like this is a line that you use all the time. This wasn't a movie that I would have asked for, but I'm actually glad that we got it. I liked it. I was different enough from the original that it stands on its own, but brought that mall premise. Like, I remember after this movie came out, it came out in my junior year of high school, sophomore year of high school. And I remember when it came out, we were a lot of people in my school were talking about zombies. And everyone's like, "Oh, I'd go to Costco. Where would you go to, survive a zombie apocalypse kind of thing?" Like, and my plan was actually Walmart. I'm like, I'm not going to go to Costco. Everyone else is going to Costco. I'm going to go to Walmart because at the time Walmart still sold guns. So I was like, I'd go to Walmart. They've got food. They've got electronics. I can play video games and watch movies. They've got, in their warehouse, they've got rafters. You can, I even had this plan where I'd go up in the rafters where they have all the storage for, TVs and, build beds up there. So if anybody zombies did get in, at least, I'm up top. I had full-on scenarios, ready to go. I knew I was going to go to the Walmart in Gilroy, California, where, just 10 minutes away from where I grew up. I'd close it all down. I even had plans. There was a gas station. I'd stop off and get some gas there so I can have gas tanks to start fires and defend myself if I need to. I had all kinds of plans. I had plans where if I ever needed to go out and run and do errands, I would get a boom box from the electronics department, throw it in near one entrance of the Walmart because there was two entrances, and go out the other. Man, I was ready to go in 2004. So. I mean, it's been 13 years, so I don't really have a plan
anymore. Those are old plans.
So, do you have anything else you want to talk about on this movie?
I really enjoyed watching it, but I don't have any more to really share.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was great. I think they're both great movies. Man, we've been on a roll. We've done 3 movies in a row that we're just we like them both. So yeah, I've got nothing else. Dustin, why don't you tell them where they can find us and all our social media stuff?
At MDXpods, Facebook, MDXpods. We'd really appreciate it, actually, if you could get on that Patreon at MDXpods and maybe, donate a little of your spare coin to our survival. That would really help a lot. You got any other places, Mike? Oh, yeah.
We're also on Twitter. I'm trying to really boost the Twitter, so please follow us on Twitter. I, of course, like and share these episodes. If you like it, the best thing you can do to help us grow is tell friends and family about it. Post it on Facebook. You tweet it out. You share the little teasers that we put through on Instagram. If you think they're funny, show a teaser. If your friend thinks it's funny, give them the link. And that's it. So help us out. We really appreciate everyone listening, and pretty soon we're going to be... No, wait, I don't have anything else. I don't want to say pretty soon. I don't want to tease anything, but we've got some big plans for the podcast. So,
all right. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you guys for listening. Bye.